Kiba Jayo Jayo Gorachande Arati Koshoba Arati Koshoba Jayo Jayo Gorachande Arati Koshoba Chotradhara Nikate Advaita Shrini Vasa Chotradhara Kamaradhulaya Anjaya Mukunda Vashu Roshadigaya Anjaya Mukunda Vashu Roshadigaya Sangha Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Bhaje Karadara Sangha Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Bhaje Karadara Madhura Mridanga Bhaje Paramarasada Madhura Mridanga Bhaje Paramarasada Ganta Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Madhur 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 Bhaje Sangha Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Madhur 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 Bhaje Sangha Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Madhur 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 Bhaje Aho Koti Chandrajini Adana Ujala Aho Koti Chandrajini Adana Ujala Radha Deshe Anamala Ore Jalamala Radha Deshe Anamala Ore Jalamala Galatha Shivasari Ora Bhaktivedanta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo. 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Okay, now we're going to pay obeisances to beautiful personalities, holy places, especially in India. So if you feel like bowing down, you can bow down. If not, you can just put your prayers against the prayer. And every time I say ki, we say jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nama Acharya Shrahadas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Galadhar Shivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Shri Navadvip Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Vrinda Devi ki jai. Vrajamandala ki jai. Bhaktivedanta Manor ki jai. Gora Gora Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai. Now we are going to sing prayers to the Lord Narasimhadev. By Bishop Prabhu. And then will be Maha served, I think also served now. But we would love you to join our prayers if you would be so nice. Thank you.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Da 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 Avadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki Prahlad Maharaj ki Srila Prabhupada ki So now there will be a Bhagavad Gita class until around 8:15. Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nobody, I'm doing it today, so I just need a little bit of practice. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. And Hare Krishna for everyone who is watching online. I would like to welcome you to the Gita class. Today we are going to be doing chapter 10, verse 24. Chapter 10 is Opulence of the Absolute. Let's begin with a kirtan. Is it okay? I just want to check. Is this okay? Yeah, it sounds good. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So we'll do the Mangalacharan. Should I come a bit closer? Is this better? Is this better? Okay. Thank you. So we'll please join me for the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you. So today we are going to be doing chapter 10, verse 24. And I'll first read the Sanskrit version, then we will go word by word translation, and then we will also read the translation and the purport as well. So I'll begin, and then you could join me as well. Purodasam cha mrityam mam Vidipartha Brihaspati Senani namaham skandaha Sarasamasmi sagaraha. So I'm going to repeat I'm going to say each word, and you can follow me. Purodasam cha mukyam mam Vidipartha Brihaspati Senani namaham skanda Sarasamasmi sagaraha. Purodasam cha mukyam mam Vidipartha Brihaspatim Senani namaham skanda Sarasamasmi sagaraha. Purodasam cha mukyam mam Vidipartha Brihaspatim Senani namaham skandaha Sarasamasmi sagaraha. Purodasam cha mukyam mam Vidipartha Brihaspatim Senani namaham skanda Sarasamasmi sagaraha. I would read the whole, and maybe you could also do it after me. Purodasam cha mukyam mam Vidipartha Brihaspatim Senani namaham skandaha Sarasamasmi sagaraha. Thank you. So now we will read the word by word translation. Puro the Psalm of all priests, Cha also, Mukyam, the chief, Mam, me, Vidhi, understand, Partha, O son of Partha, Brihaspati, Brihaspati, Senaninam, of all commanders, Aham, I am, Skandaha, Kartikeya, Sarasam, of all reservoirs of water, Asmi, I am, Sagara, the ocean. Would you like to lead and I'll follow? Would you like to lead and I will follow?
O priests of Arjuna, know me to be the chief Brhaspati of generals. I am Karitakya, and of the bodies of water I am the ocean.
Thank you. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief Brihaspati, of generals I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water I am the ocean. So I would read the purport as well. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet on which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest. And since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda or Kartikeya, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. Would you like to read the purport as well?
Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet on which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brhaspati is Indra's priest, and since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brhaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda or Kartika, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. Those representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness.
Thank you. Now, this is a beautiful passage, and this is one of the passages where Krishna talks of his opulences. So what we would do is, chapter 10 is a lot about the knowledge of the absolute. And the way I would like to structure my discussion today is to talk about Krishna's 6 opulences and specifically go to what he has described in this particular verse. And there are 2 illustrious saints that sages that he talks about, which is Brihaspati and Kartikeya. So we'll try to understand a little bit about who they are and their qualities, and then see what we can learn from them. So we will try to cover all of that, and I have done some research, and hopefully that will help us as well. So would anybody like to share what are the 6 opulences of Krishna? Yeah. Beauty, wealth, knowledge, renunciation, strength, fame. Yes, yeah, that's right. Fearlessness or absence of fear. So as we know, Krishna, he demonstrates this very visibly, which is the 6 opulences. The first one being strength. So some examples of this would be when he was 3 months old, he killed, the demoness Putana who tried to poison him. And when he was 7 years old, he held the Govardhan on the tip of his little finger, which I don't think any of us can really do. So clearly that shows that he's extremely strong and he's the strongest of all. Wisdom, and a good example of this would be the Gita that we are learning. So this was spoken, by Krishna 5,000 years ago to Arjuna, and it continues to be a practical guide to how we live today's. How do we live today? Yeah, so it's timeless, it's precious, and its wisdom is something that we can even implement in our lives today as well. So that's again that shows that he's all knowledgeable. And beauty, in fact, Krishna is all attractive, as we know. And do we know how many wives he had? Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for that. So it's not very easy for 16,108 very, very beautiful women to to really find Krishna attractive. And of course, millions of gopis also found him very attractive. We all find him very attractive because we call him Shama Sundar, which means what does Shama Sundar mean? What is Sham and what is Sundar? Sham is black, yeah, and Sundar, yeah, beautiful. So it's like like dark beauty. So that's one way by which we can say, and also he also surpasses the beauty of Kamadev or Cupid, and this is really shared in the Brahma Samhita as Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shubham Govinda Madhi Purusham. So again, that shows how how attractive he is. And fame, of course, as we know, how many of us know anyone who's lived 5,000 years ago? And how many of us in this world worship him as a supreme personality of Godhead? So clearly he's, fame is definitely one of his opulences. Wealth, and what is said is that when he was in Dwarka, he had 16,108 palaces, and he would expand himself so that he spends individual time with each of his wives. So how many of us can boast of having 16,108 palaces? Having one itself is one too many. And here, so that speaks about his opulence as in terms of wealth, and he always had Lakshmi as his consort. And then of course, even when he had all of this renunciation, he was also fully renounced. So he never was attached to any of these opulences. So these really are the 6 opulences. And what Krishna says in chapter 10, he describes, do we know how many opulences? 82, yeah. It's 82 opulences. While these are opulences, but I think it's very important for us to realize, as also mentioned in the purport, that these are just hints of his greatness, because it's just not 82, but it's a lot more beyond that. Yeah, it's just a summary. It's just a summary of what he is, but he's much more than even those 82 opulences as well. And the thing is, how can we really discover those qualities? How can we really understand? For that, we really have to pray to him for us to have that understanding that we can have those opulences. So this is one aspect. And what we would do specifically with respect to this particular verse is that he talks of three opulences here. What are they? Of all the priests, he's Brihaspati. And of all the commanders, he's Kartikeya. And of all the bodies of water, he's the ocean. So what we will do now is to try to unpack a little bit of who Brihaspati is and who Kartikeya is. And let's try to understand a little bit of their qualities, because it's quite important, because Krishna compares himself and he is them. So it's good to know what their qualities are. And do we know who is Brihaspati? He's the guru of the demigods, and he's the guru of Indra. And here are a few things that I would, that I have been able to find. So he's the chief priest of Indra, who is the king of the demigods. And he's also considered to be the lord of prayer and devotion. And He's also the chief offerer of prayers and sacrifices. So if he really wants to get to bring peace to humanity, it is Brihaspati that we worship, because Brihaspati acts as the offerer of sacrifices to gods, to the demigods, so that so that like we as humanity can have peace in this material world. So that's why a lot of people, they do worship Brihaspati, because he's a person through whom we can actually reach the blessings of the demigods. He's the son of Angiras, and Angiras is the son of Angira. He's the son of Brahma. So, yeah, so he's really coming from that lineage. So, he's the husband of Tara, and Tara is associated with the stars in the sky. So, and he's also the father of Bharadwaj and Kacha, and they also are very illustrious. He's also known as the Supreme Guru. Brihaspati is known as a Supreme Guru, and for those of us who believe in astrology, he's the planet Jupiter, and the planet Jupiter is the foremost. It's the largest planet, and it has a lot of. They say in astrology, they say that it has a lot of influence on our wealth, on our fortune, etc. So clearly, he's quite a significant person, even from that perspective as well. A few other things that I had, he's described as a sage who's born from the first great light. And he's also known as a person who drives away darkness, who is bright and pure, and he carries a string called Rita, which really is the basis of Dharma. So, and his knowledge and character is revered. There are many other things, but I will probably just focus on a few things. It is said that all branches of knowledge, all perception, are under the influence of Brihaspati, and the knowledge that Brihaspati grants to us is the knowledge of the highest principles of wisdom. I think we have, yeah. So for those of us who are online, we have this beautiful site. We have a lot of children coming in, and they're just taking a tour of the, of the manor, which is absolutely great. Yeah. So he teaches us, the wisdom of unity and truth. What would In fact, there is a great astrologer who has said that Brihaspati is the originator of wisdom and delight. And one of the last things that we would like to know about Brihaspati is that Brihaspati allows one to meditate in full absorption of the highest principle of wisdom. And for us, what is the highest principle of wisdom? What is the highest principle of wisdom for any of us? Surrender to Krishna. So Brihaspati allows us to develop that love for Krishna. So those are some of the qualities of him. So he's divine, he's knowledgeable, he's wise, he's a guru, and those are the qualities that we also see in Krishna as well, and also in our spiritual masters. He was much earlier actually. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come in the Kali Yuga, but Brihaspati was much. Yes, he was. I'm just wondering, do we have a mic that we can probably give you? So it'll be good, because then those who are online can also listen to your your comments as well. Yeah, absolutely. He's written some prayer. It's called the Brihaspati Mantra, although I'm not sure whether he has written or not. But of course, I think the important thing is, let's really meditate on his divine qualities and say, because those are also part of Krishna's opulences, like divinity, purity, guru, and he's also the chief of gods, and he's the greatest counsel of the demigods. So even if the demigods would listen to him, so even Indra would listen to his advice. At all points of time, whenever there used to be these fights between demons and and the demigods. And do you know who was the priest of the demons?
Shukracharya.
Shukracharya, yeah. So it always used to be, so Brihaspati was the chief priest of the demigods, and Shukracharya was the chief priest of the demons, and they were always obviously clashing with each other because they represented very different forces. So so if you look at the pastimes, you can keep going on, but I think those are the qualities of Brihaspati. Can we move on to Kartikeya? Who's the do we know who's Kartikeya? He's a son of Lord Shiva, who is So he's pure, he's a pure form of Lord Shiva, and he's also called the god of victory and war. So he's always shown as someone who's very young, who's very handsome, and he has a weapon. Do we know what his weapon is? He's always depicted as he's got a weapon. So it's called the veil. It's called the veil or a spear. So you will find him having this in all the paintings and the pictures, and he also is mounted on he has a vehicle that takes him from place to place. So what is his mount? Mount. No. Okay, so when I'm saying a mount, I mean which animal or which bird does he, does he move in? Bird. A rat is Ganesha. Yeah. Peacock, yes. It's of course, it is a peacock. And it's very interesting because, we always have, like Krishna also being depicted, with a peacock feather. So it's quite beautiful. And so his weapon is the veil. And do we know who his siblings are? Who's his brother? Ganesha. Ganesha is his brother. And he also has a half brother. Do we know who it is? Have you? Okay. He was born out of the union of Shiva and Vishnu in the form of Mohini. Ayyappa. So Ayyappa is in South India, so they have a temple there. So he was born out of, as I mentioned, the union of Lord Shiva as the male and Lord Vishnu in the form of Mohini. So, and that's why he's a half brother, because Shiva's and because Shiva is the father for both. So that's interesting. And he had two wives. That's Vali and Devyani. So that's about Kartikeya. Just a few things. His qualities are he's very, very fearless. He's very, very strong. He's ever youthful, and he always fights on the side of good and ensures that there is the side of the good wins as well. So there are many pastimes, And what's also interesting about Kartikeya is that he's not only worshipped in India, but he's also worshipped in Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and a few other places. And what I also found from my research is that he's also worshipped in some form in Buddhism and Jainism. And so what are his qualities? His qualities are strength. His qualities are, being very handsome, very, very powerful, and again, very, very wise. So although he's young, he's also very wise, like in terms of his qualities. And we also find him being featured in some of the scriptures, like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana as well. So he's also his pastime is also like reflected in some of those scriptures too. So that's Kartikeya. Any questions on that? Skanda is also, that's a very good point. So Kartikeya, in fact, he has got about 108 names is what I understand. So Skanda is one of them. I do have an interesting thing on why he's called Skanda. Let me just see if I can pick that up. Because he has multiple names, but let me try to see if right. Let me read this out for you because I think it's quite an interesting pastime. Skanda is derived from skand, which means to leap or to attack. And in Kalidas' epic poem, Kalidas is one of the greatest Sanskrit poets. He in his epic poem called Kumara Sambhava, which is the birth of the war god. So here he refers to Skanda or Kartikeya as the war god. 5th century before Christ. So which means it will probably be about a little over like 2000 years ago. As one of the most version of the story, the gods wished for Skanda to be born in order to destroy the demons Taraka, Simhamukha, and Surapadma, in which the brothers had been granted a boon that they could be killed only by Shiva's power. And Skanda or Kartikeya was purely born of Shiva. And they sent Parvati to induce Shiva to marry her. Shiva, however, was lost in meditation and was not attracted to Parvati until he was struck by an arrow from the bow of Kamadeva, the god of love, whom he immediately burnt to ashes. After many years of abstinence, Shiva's seed became so powerful that the gods, fearing the result, sent Agni, the god of fire, to interrupt Shiva's amorous play with Parvati. Agni received the seed and dropped it into the Ganges, from which Skanda was born. So that's why the quality of Skanda is pure Shiva. And who do we know Shiva as? As the greatest devotee of Krishna. Yeah. So he's the purest of the Vaishnava, and he's if you can see the connection, and so Skanda by extension is also a pure devotee of Krishna. So that's quite beautiful. And so that's on Kartikeya. And the third one is around so what Krishna says is that he's the ocean among all bodies of water. So what do you think are some of the qualities of the ocean as we see? It's calm all the time, most of the times at least, till the storms come. It's large, it's infinite. So for example, if you just sit, stand in the beachfront and just look at the expanse, you just think that it's infinite, isn't it? So definitely infinite. What else? It's large. Purity, absolutely. It's very, very pure, and till humankind has decided to do all the pollution, etc. So that is definitely a learning for us that we do need to protect our environment, the oceans, because we want it to stay pure. What else? A couple of other qualities that I could think of is very enigmatic and mysterious. I don't know how many of you have done. I've not done diving, but I've done like snorkeling at least. And when you go down, when you look down, you see that there is so much of depth, and it's like so mysterious and so deep and so profound that it's impossible to really comprehend it in the first place, because the floor is obviously so deep, and then after a point of time even you can't even see the sun rays, so it's really the depths. So it's so deep that we will not be able to, that we can only imagine that we can go to the depths. So one is it's quite enigmatic, and then the other thing that also struck me is how it provides home to so many diverse species. So you can have like turtles and different kinds of fishes, and so it's kind of a home for so many creatures, which which is again like a creation of Krishna. So yeah, I think so. Those are the three qualities. So just to very sum up in this particular passage, in this particular verse, so we looked at Krishna comparing himself. Of all the priests, is Brihaspati. Of all the commanders, he is Kartikeya, and of all the bodies of water, it's ocean. So based on these three, so what were the qualities that we discussed today, and what are the opulences that we can derive from these three? From Brihaspati, what was it?
Offering prayers.
Offering prayers, yeah. Offering prayers with devotion.
Kartikeya he's a good fighter.
A good fighter, strong, courageous. Young and handsome, absolutely. He's always young and handsome. He never grows old.
The other one you mentioned, never heard of it.
Skanda?
Skanda, you mentioned the other one, was in South India.
Skanda. Skanda is the same as Kartikeya, so they are the same.
Born from Mohini Murti and
Ayyappa.
Ayyappa, never heard of that one.
You never heard? Okay, fine. So you may want to do, because Palani Ayyappa, because there is a place in South India called Palani, and it's in a forest, and of course it's very respected, and there's a lot of austerity you need to do to be able to get to that particular temple. So you can't just decide that I'm going to go. So you normally have to fast, for about a month. You have to abstain. So there is a lot of austerities you need to do before you go there. Otherwise, you might end up not, getting the blessings of the Lord. So so Ayyappa has got the strength of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu together. So you can imagine how powerful a god he would be.
Prabhupada do a comparison. To please the demigods, you have to do big sacrifices. But to please Krishna, you just have to give devotion.
Absolutely, which is exactly what it is, right? And that's what happens, because we spend so much of time trying to propitiate the blessings of demigods, but we don't really have to get there. All we have to do is to just meditate on His holy name, and you attain Him. Yeah, it's as simple as that. However, what Krishna also says is that if you do want to, he allows you to develop your love for even a demigod, and he just gives you the intelligence. So he helps build your devotion for him. But then it's only he who gives authority to all the demigods to be able to give their blessings. So absolutely. But not everybody knows that, and not everyone wants to. So, but Krishna is still fine. He says, I will give you the intelligence. Even if you're worshipping, indirectly it's going to come to me anyway. So, but whomever you worship, please do it with your heart.
Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, Lord, Krishna's part of Bhagavad Gita to benefit the whole world.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And the Gita, and if you really read that with the Srimad Bhagavatam, it just makes things even more clearer. So, absolutely. Any other questions? Any other reflections?
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. I have a question. At the beginning, you mentioned about the 6 opulences of the Lord, and one was all fame. But we see, like, in this world, many people might not know who Krishna is. And so, how can we understand that Krishna is all famous?
Right. That's quite a good question, and I think it's good to really look at it more from a system, more from the point of view of do we know that it's not so much from the point of view of do we know this person or not, but how many of us really know. So I think if you were to really look at say anyone who's lived say 5,000 years ago, not I mean we probably we don't know any of those. None of us really know anyone who's lived so many years ago. And even if we look at some recent times, Hare Krishna, even if we look at some of the the recent examples, I think they probably are just a few hundred years older. So one thing is, it's not so much about the number of people who know or do not know Krishna, but about how many people know Krishna even after so many years. So fame has got a certain aspect of the duration of how well you're known as well. When it comes to really some people do not know Krishna, it's not probably that they don't know Krishna, but they have forgotten him. So forgetting about Krishna because of the choices that we have made, because of the veil of Maya, is very different from the actual fame itself. So it'll be very strange to find someone who a billion people, because in India itself has got more than 1 billion population, and everyone knows Krishna, and it's just not India, it's like it's the rest of the world as well. So we almost have like half the humanity knowing about Krishna, and who else has got as much of fame as him? So it's all relative speaking, and of course what it also helps us do is it makes devotees like us, it makes it almost our duty, a devotional service to really preach about Krishna to those whom we come in contact with, and just help them rediscover what they have just missed, because Paramatman is there in every soul. So Krishna is there in every heart. You're both in a devotee and in a non-devotee. The only difference is that a devotee knows that Krishna is in his heart, his or her heart. A non-devotee doesn't know. So the question is not whether, the question is when he or she is going to know. That's it. And in which lifetime as well. So
Thank you.
I hope that answered your question. Any reflection from your side?
Just thinking about the relationship with Lord Shiva, who is, as we know, a demigod, and he is, as we know, according to the last verse, he is the mode of, he is the Lord who is in charge of the mode of ignorance in the universe. This is Lord Shiva.
Yes, which is the tamas.
Thomas. So he's in the mode of ignorance. He's looking after devotees in the mode of ignorance. So therefore, we understand that we can only get, as Lord Shiva is a Vaishnava and he's Krishna's favorite Vaishnava.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so Lord Shiva is Krishna's favorite Vaishnava, and they say that we can get to Krishna through Lord Shiva, through Shiva's mercy. He will deliver us to Krishna, but Krishna is only looking after people in the mode of tamas, or in the mode of ignorance.
Yeah. So Shiva is, of course, I think a very he's a very mysterious Vaishnava to really unpack, and maybe I'll not be able to do justice to really understand to really share his full potency. So he is a pure Vaishnava. However, he's also depicted as the destroyer of evil, and you can also see him as someone who is whenever you see him and his his army or something, you can see that they look pretty much like the asuras, etc. So that could be some misconstrue about who Shiva is and what really is his role. One way of looking at Shiva's thing is that he tries to destroy all that's evil and all that's impure in us, and and of course he is Lord Krishna. Krishna has given him the authority to be able to rule the material world, which obviously comprises of both the divine forces and the demonic forces. And those who are the demonic forces, they do act in the mode of ignorance. So he kind of oversees that. And but if they pray to him, he does give blessings, but then those blessings are only in the material world. It's not really in the spiritual world. And but if you really want to truly get into the spiritual realm, that's when it's not enough for you to worship only Shiva, but that's when, as you mentioned, it's important for you to really worship Krishna, because that will take you directly to the spiritual world. And you can worship Shiva as well, but then it will take you much longer to get to where you want to, which is going back to Godhead.
Yeah, this was my point. How do you transcend then from worshipping Shiva, if Shiva is going to deliver you to Krishna, and you're worshipping Shiva in that material realm, then you're being satisfied because you want to be in the material realm because you're worshipping Lord Shiva. But at some point, you have to go transcendently beyond Shiva's material realms and become Krishna conscious. And then Krishna then Shiva can then in turn, by the same token, then deliver you to Krishna.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And I
So
think,
how do those opulences occur to enable you to progress in that
so
transcend from one to the other?
yeah, so if you're developing a love for like Shiva, Shiva's blessings will only help you get your blessings in the material world, as you rightfully mentioned. It's quite possible that like a lot of us may continue in that particular mode for a long time, and then that could continue continue as long as you please, unless we probably have like a Hare Krishna devotee come across and tell this devotee, what, I think you should probably read the Gita. So that will hopefully get build a bit more intelligence in him. For example, in India we have there are like two sects. There's a Vaishnava sect who worship Vishnu, Krishna, and then there are the Shaivites who really worship, and there is quite a divide between the two. But many of them, they don't understand that in the end there is really no divide. In the end, there is just one God, and that's Krishna.
It's all Krishna anyway, but Krishna is also pleased if we worship Shiva, because we are in effect worshipping one of Shiva's devotees,
one of the greatest
Vaishnava.
devotees.
So therefore,
Yeah.
by doing so, this is also pleasing Krishna.
It is pleasing Krishna. However, the difference is that you will not be able to reach liberation and enter the spiritual world if you are purely worshipping Shiva, because if you get the blessings of Shiva, you will get all his blessings, but then you will still stay in the material world. You'll not really.
He will keep you where
He'll keep you in
where
the material
prefer
world.
to be, because you're comfortable there in that material
Yeah,
realm.
because you're comfortable in the material world,
Yeah.
you'll probably not be able to go through that escape, be liberated from the cycle of birth and death.
So your needs are satisfied in the material world, so why would you therefore want to progress? She
Yeah.
was happy to keep you there
Yeah.
as one of his
Yeah.
devotees.
And
Yes, ma'am.
Brihad Bhagavatamrita, you heard of Brihad Bhagavatamrita? By Sanatana Goswami. He explains in there that if someone worships Lord Shiva, his destination will be delayed. First he'll have to go to Lord Shiva's abode, then from there he can enter the spiritual world. If someone worships Krishna or Vishnu directly, he enters the spiritual world directly.
yeah,
So Lord Shiva is known as Guru Tattva also. So by worshipping, coming in touch with Vaishnavas, through their mercy, it becomes quicker. There was one devotee, he worshipped Lord Shiva, and at some point he came to Krishna consciousness. So he was asking that question also, like, I'm into Krishna consciousness now, so how do I carry on? My guru is there and worshipping Lord Shiva. So I gave him the answer that Lord Shiva is Guru Tattva, you worship your guru, in this way Lord Shiva is pleased. But then at the same time, some people have this sentiment, like attachment is there. Because they worship Lord Shiva or demigods, they can't just stop it.
Yeah.
So it's a gradual thing. We had a devotee comes in the morning, disciple Gopalkrishna Maharaj. His mother was worshiping demigods at some point. He tried to stop her worshiping demigods and get her to worshiping Krishna. But at the same time, the attachment was there. So slowly, he got her to do services in the temple. He got her to chant Hare Krishna. At some point, the demigod worship stopped. So it's like that. Yeah.
I think that's a great example, and one of the reasons why some confusion like this lies is because you don't really understand the constitutional power position of Krishna, and that's why like reading the Gita just allows you to know that who's really the supreme personality of Godhead, and who's really that who really orders, who brings about all the blessings in the universe. So and many of the times we don't have that knowledge, but I think as Prabhuji mentioned very well, when you start engaging with with sanghas, with devotees, when you start reading books like the Gita, when you start performing devotional service, Krishna will give that wisdom in you, in so he puts that light in your heart that says that if I want to be happy materially, then I'm happy to then I can just offer sacrifices and pray to the demigods. But if I really want to get true liberation, you do need to come to Krishna. You do need to pray to me. So but that wisdom is something that will come through performing those devotional service. But it will not happen overnight. It may take some time because we still have. It depends on where our spiritual journey starts. Some of us are probably at a much more evolved state. Some of us are probably just about starting. So it will take some time, and sometimes it may not even take this lifetime. It could take the next lifetime. You never know. So.
And the other thing about Lord Shiva is, this is in Chaitanya Bhagavat. It explains, Advaita Acharya is Sada Shiva. So Advaita Acharya tells Lord Chaitanya, if someone glorifies you, I will worship them. If someone worships me without worshipping you, I will destroy them. In other words, those who worship Lord Shiva thinking that he's the supreme, actually Lord Shiva is not really giving them blessings. Because they want to merge with Lord Shiva. Prabhupada explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, story of Aditi and Kashyapa Muni. This point is mentioned in the purport. But if you accept Lord Shiva as a Vaishnava, then he'll take you to Krishna. Because Lord Shiva's purpose is to actually serve the Vaishnavas.
Yeah. So it's in what mood you worship Shiva. I think that's the key thing. Do you worship him as the greatest God, or do you worship him as a pure Vaishnava who will in turn take you to Krishna? So, yeah.
Just one further point. I understand that if you worship Lord Shiva, then you go to Shiva Loka for 10,000 years, which is the equivalent to one lifetime. But then ultimately you would fall back into the material.
Into the material world because it's very powerful.
Because obviously, but on the other toe, if you worship Krishna, then obviously Krishna Loka will take you eternally into the heavenly planet.
Absolutely. And that's why we're all here to
Hare Krishna.
Say Hare Krishna. And he's made it so easy for us. And thank you for a great discussion, and thank you for also sharing a lot of your wisdom. So I think it's time. So today, just to sum up, what we had done was we really just looked at 3 of the opulences of Krishna, and you're going to hear more of it, in the coming weeks, tomorrow, because he continues with talking about his opulences in the other verses as well. So perhaps I think we can just close our eyes and maybe say the Maha Mantra 3 times. Please join me in doing this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna, and have a nice evening.